Hello, this is Ron Paul with your weekly update for February 15th. Last week, we were reminded that ours is not the only country suffering from severe economic turmoil. The Greek government is the latest to come close to default on their massive public debt. Greece has insufficient funds in their treasury to make even the minimum payments that are now coming due. Their debt level is about 120% of their gross domestic product, and their public sector absorbs what amounts to 40% of GDP. Any talk of cutting costs and spending is met with violent protests from the many Greeks heavily dependent on government payments. Mounting fears of default have sent shockwaves through their creditors and all of the Eurozone countries. But there have been statements made by the European Central Bank to calm fears and give assurances that Greece will get the aid it needs. Details of agreements are not forthcoming. Is it possible that our Federal Reserve has had some hand in bailing out Greece? The fact is, we don't know, and current laws exempt agreements between the Fed and foreign central banks from disclosure or audit. Greece is only the latest in a series of countries that have faced this type of crisis in recent memory. Not too long ago, the same types of fears were mounting about Dubai, and before that, Iceland. Several other countries, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, Latvia, are approaching crisis level with public debt as well. Many have strong ties to Goldman Sachs, and the case could easily be made that default could have serious implications for big U.S. banking cartels. Considering the ties between the Fed and these big banks, it's not outlandish to wonder if the U.S. taxpayer is secretly bailing out the entire world, country by country, even as our real unemployment tops 20%. Unless laws are changed to allow a complete and meaningful audit of the Federal Reserve, including its agreements with foreign central banks, we might never know if this is occurring or not. This global financial crisis is a predictable result of secretive central banking and unsound fiat currency. Governments are entirely committed to this system of fiat money and fractional reserve banking for obvious reasons. It enables them to do what they love most, spend hordes of money with near impunity. Without the limitations of sound money, governments will spend without limit. They will spend money to hire their cronies, pay off special interests, give out favors, create dependence, and generally distract from the terrible job that they do as their chief mandate, which is to protect the liberties of the people. Fiat money is a blank check to government, which is very dangerous, and we are witnessing the death throes of the system as the bills come due, and the underlying capital is squandered away. Because of our globe-straddling empire and lingering reserve currency status, perhaps no one has a more vested interest in keeping the system cobbled together than our own government and the Federal Reserve. The agreements that Iceland and Dubai and Greece have negotiated can amount to little more than kicking the can down the road, as their overall spending habits remain largely intact. Fiat currencies are still legal tender, and more debt is issued on top of unsustainable debt. The American people have the right to know if they are going to be the ones holding the bag in the end, because the Federal Reserve secretly put them on the hook for it. This knowledge would be a key factor in peacefully dismantling this immoral and unconstitutional system. Thanks for calling this update. A new update is placed on this number, 888-322.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's Ron Paul. We're going to be talking about the complete economic meltdown that's clearly happening. Sales tax revenues, property tax revenues, all plunging. The next big crisis now beginning in commercial real estate, as shops where I live shut down everywhere. Many shopping centers, even in middle-class areas, are half empty. Poor areas, it's even worse. I want to go over that coming up in about 30 minutes with Webster Tarpley, who is an economist, a Ph.D. of history as well, a doctorate of history, and we really appreciate him joining us. We sell all 4 of his published books, 9/11 Synthetic Terror, his 2 books on Obama, his Economic Cataclysm book. They're all invaluable and discounted at Infowars.com. And you may know all this stuff, or may think you know it all. You'll learn a lot reading Tarpley's books. Get them, give them to other folks. Every mind you unlock is one step closer to bringing down the New World Order. Believing that these people aren't invincible is half the battle. Knowing who the enemy is, ladies and gentlemen, is half the battle. Taking action is the rest. Now, we're going to go to Tarpley in a moment. I first want to read from some of this article. I thought of Tarpley over the weekend as I was doing research, because I had remembered months ago when they had the gate crashers at the White House and how they talked about how he wasn't safe in the White House. And Tarpley tied it in with some other news, and I've learned to respect what he has to say as piercing understanding. He said these were threats to Obama and that they were opening the public mind and creating kind of a track that Obama is going to be assassinated. There's already been a huge discussion of this in the media. Then I started seeing Sean Hannity and other neocon mouthpieces like Glenn Beck saying 9/11 truthers will try to kill Obama. Now, 9/11 truthers are against violence. 9/11 truthers expose false flag. 9/11 truthers expose Obama as a puppet. They're nonpartisan. It's been proven. Under Bush, they said we were liberals. Now under Obama, they say we're right-wingers. And they talk about, oh, my gosh, Deborah Medina might be a 9/11 truther, and the Democratic candidate in Texas is openly questioning 9/11. It's like everybody is. And the polls show that. And so depending on the poll, 36% to 84%, they vary widely in Angus and Reid and Gallup and Scripps Howard News Service polls. But let's say 50%. Let's take the medium. Let's take the middle here. When they try to stage an attack on the Christmas day, you got 9/11 truthers, people that are tuned in on board. They notice he was led on, protected. Somebody else had a bomb. The FBI says they're liars. A month later, it comes out. The FBI reverses their story. Okay, we helped them get on the plane, as a part of an intelligence operation. I want to talk about that with Tarpley as well. We may even keep a little bit in the next hour because I'm getting to him late here. But again, there's so much data that goes into this. I'm always trying to give listeners a picture of my mind and my understanding. But then when I saw Glenn Beck start saying on the radio and TV the last 3 weeks, and I'm just spot checking him, and I tune in, he calls for a new value-added tax, a new sales tax to pay the bankers, another bailout. I tune in, he's for the Patriot Act. I tune in, same thing with O'Reilly. 9/11 truthers want to kill the president. No evidence, they're just saying this. Who's their number one enemy? According to White House regulations are that Obama's now operating under, saying he'll just use executive orders to circumvent everything. 9/11 truthers. What does Northcom and Homeland Security say their big enemy is? Christians, conservatives, returning veterans, gun owners, 9/11 truthers, in the fetters. People that are awake, populist, constitutionalist. And so I see them openly saying 9/11 truth is going to try to kill him. And Beck's like, I'm predicting it, mark my words. They love to act like prophets. So we know, that's how I knew they were going to launch 9/11. I saw them introducing bin Laden as the boogeyman. He's going to get you. He's going to attack you. I knew the feds had cooked the bomb, trained the driver in 93. I knew they'd already attacked the World Trade Center. I knew they had foreign operatives running the World Trade Center and a bunch of other data. I said they're going to attack it the next few months, blame it on bin Laden. I was right. 3 months before the flu outbreak, I got government documents. They were getting ready to stage something on flu. Told you. It's the same thing here. They are planning to attempt to kill Obama. He's probably in on it. It'll be staged like 10 years ago with the situation in Taiwan with their president staging a shooting of himself, and it came out it was fake. They did a fake grazing and just had some blanks go off and a little fake cut he put on himself. So this is done over and over again, or they could really kill him. And that's why I've got Webster Tarpley on to break this down and give us his take on it from his slightly different perspective from mine. It's not that we disagree. I just want to get his view on it. But key article up on prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. Obama is being blackmailed into attacking Iran. Neocons hype assassination attempt on president to be blamed on political extremist. And this is why this is important. Dovetailed with all this, they say, if you attack Iran, we're going to support you. Sarah Palin, Beck have all said it. If you don't, the 9/11 truthers will kill you. So the message is, we're going to kill you and blame it on our opposition if you don't do this. Now, let's see if Webster Griffin Tarpley agrees with my analysis. I didn't talk to him before he went on air. You're going to find out with me right now. Dr. Tarpley, do you agree, and what can you add?
Well, I think you've certainly identified a real problem. Maybe we take a couple of steps backward, though, because I think it's a complex problem. During the election campaign, the idea that Obama's life was in danger was largely a myth spread by his own campaign, I think, by his own followers. They had a deep emotional need to believe that Obama was in danger, because this helped to mask the fact that he was so obviously a Wall Street puppet. In other words, he was a wholly owned subsidiary of Wall Street, but somehow the emotional need of the Obama supporter was to view him as somebody who was an anti-establishment rebel and insurgent and therefore in grave danger because he was...
So is this Beck trying to invoke Democrats to hate 9/11 truthers?
Well, I think that's now a different phase. Now, let's also look at what the idea that Obama needs to be blackmailed in order to attack Iran, I think, is also probably not germane. Obama ran as a warmonger, right? We have to remember he ran as the guy who was going to bomb Pakistan unilaterally without talking to the Pakistani government. He was very, very adamant about that, and he was going to win the war in Afghanistan. And we had this famous incident where Obama said, I'm going to send assassins and I'm going to send Predator drones into Pakistan to get Obama where he lives.